Scare, lie, then rip off. It is the three-pronged sales technique Congressman Anthony Weiner says Goldline International uses to fleece its customers. And in our #1 story, the patrons of televangelist Glenn Beck were forced to answer for their practices in front of Congress today. You might call it the 923 project to restore honor to deceptive gold peddlers. Congressman Weiner joins me presently. First, ABC News reported today that 3 current senior salespeople at Goldline were once investigated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. This was in the 1990s. According to court records, the SEC alleged the men used deceptive mass mailings and boiler room tactics to defraud 115 mostly elderly investors out of $1,180,000 over 13 months. The case was settled. The men conceded no guilt, but they returned the money. A former Goldline employee telling ABC News that 2 of these men are now training other salespeople for Goldline and also handling their biggest clients. In today's hearing, Goldline Executive Vice President Scott Carter confirming that the men once under investigation by the SEC are currently employees in good standing at his company. Congressman Weiner was interested in one particular Goldline sales tactic, scaring people into thinking the government is going to take back their gold bullion. Glenn Beck fearmongers on the subject for Goldline in a web video.
You see, back in 1933, FDR said, okay, we're going to take all your gold, and gee, it's worth $8 an ounce. But some people got smart, and they said, well, wait a minute, I've got antique coins. You can't melt these down.
There's an identical radio ad done by either Glenn Beck in a falsetto or by some woman. Goldline provides each of its prospective customers with a copy of the 1933 presidential order, not so subtle subtext. Obama is coming for your bullion. The message, buy antique gold coins from Goldline.
Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Is this included in your packet of information that you sent to your customers?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell us why?
Because customers, when determining what products they want to buy, consider many features and benefits. And one of those features and benefits that they consider is the prospect of confiscation.
There's a fear that this you might have this type of thing happen again.
Yes, I think
there's that fear. Now, can I ask you, do you include anywhere in the material that this was overturned the following year?
Congressman, I don't know.
The answer is you don't.
Our commission salespeople and our training is that if the executive order were reenacted as it was in 33, that coins with collector value were excluded from confiscation because their value
I understand. Just to summarize, Mr. Carter, you take something that was in 1933, that was repealed in 1934, and then you extrapolate what would happen, the fear that it could happen in 2010.
Let's call in New York Congressman Anthony Weiner, member of the House Subcommittee on Commerce, Trade, and Consumer Protection. Representative Weiner, a pleasure as always. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you, sir.
What did you achieve today, do you think?
Well, you know, we revealed that this business model is just what we described there and how the way you put it, you know, they frighten people. And these are middle-class people who are legitimately concerned about the economy, want to figure out where to invest their money. And they see these ads, and they really are come-ons. They say, listen, the gold is going up, inflation's eating away at your money, buy gold. The problem is, as we heard from a witness today, they gouge you. Once they suck you in, they sell you these coins. There's nothing scarce about them. The only value that they have is a small amount of gold that is in there in case you ever want to melt it down. He was bragging that when you buy Swiss francs, that it's gone up in value. Well, if the economy goes into the crapper in the future, I don't know how many people are going to take your Swiss franc coins. But, you know, this is a very serious problem because if you think about who's being targeted for this, these are people who have legitimate concerns about the economy but don't quite know how to go about purchasing gold. Now, I don't know if gold is going to go up or down. I don't know if it's a good deal or a bad deal to buy gold, but I know buying from this guy is very bad, and it's a real ripoff. As much as 180% markup on the melt value, you're never going to make that back, and unfortunately, people are being exploited.
Now, to that point, one of those the witnesses before you testified today that he lost $60,000 in a day to the transaction with Goldline. How on earth is that possible?
Well, he gave Goldline about $140,000 and assumed he was getting $140,000 worth of gold back. But in fact, he wasn't. And he came back to them 6 months later, says, I want to take my money out of these coins. And they said, we'll give you $80,000 because that's what their markup is. you know, they say, well, this guy should have stayed in longer. Well, we did the math. He would have to stay in for about 15 years before he even caught up with the markup that Goldline puts on it. And what was interesting about this witness is he wasn't a nincompoop. He was a bright guy who had read things carefully, but what he assumed is a basic assumption that I think a lot of people have when they buy these products, that they're getting what the going price is for gold. And with these guys, Goldline, they frankly are ripping people off.
The scare, lie, rip-off cycle that you outlined in your opening remarks, is it any wonder that Goldline seeks or finds willing partners in people like Glenn Beck?
Well, you know, this is where the angry radio hosts work hand in glove with these sellers. You know, you see Glenn Beck say, be careful, the economy's a mess, deficits, debts, you better invest in gold. Now let's go to a word from our sponsor. It got so bad that even Fox News said to Glenn Beck, you can't be a paid sponsor for these guys anymore, because it was just, the line was getting blurred. Now, that's Fox News' problem, that's Glenn Beck's problem. I think he does have some responsibility to his viewers. You know, it's odd of me to be saying this, but I want to stand up for Glenn Beck's viewers in this case. But the laws that we're proposing obviously don't impact Fox News, and Glenn Beck can say and do whatever he wants. But I would hope he takes a step back and looks at our study, looks at the testimony today, and realizes that his viewers are middle-class people who are struggling. He should not be aiding and abetting a ripoff. Speaking
of middle-class viewers and others, lastly, while we have you here, a quick reaction to the news from the Senate that the Senate is not going to have a vote up or down on tax cuts for middle-class or for rich people till after the election. What's your thought on that?
Well, listen, it should come as no surprise that, you know, the Senate is where legislation goes to die. You know, Ben Franklin called it the cooling saucer of our democracy. It's like the meat locker nowadays. It's unfortunate, but look, let's remember this is ultimately a very good day, and you alluded to it earlier on your program. This is the day that two things happened. One, health care took effect, giving people free diagnostic care, closing the donut hole for seniors. That very same day, the Republican Party, the party that that Paul Ryan says he wants to privatize Social Security and eliminate Medicare. So we have a clear case to make here, and I just wish Democrats would lean into that argument rather than being on our heels so much.
Amen. Congressman Anthony Weiner of New York, many thanks, and keep doing that.
Thank you, sir.